It's been a hell of a week, hasn't it? I mean, Donald Trump has stolen a foreign oil tanker, almost certainly going to put us in the position of going to war. Kristi Noem today is lying on Capitol Hill and perjured herself. We have uh, just an absolute fucking mess as we round out the end of the year. Oh, and the Senate has blocked the extension of the Obamacare subsidies. And the economy is in a tailspin, and the Fed had to cut interest rates again as Donald Trump sends us into a depression. It's extraordinary. We're but a couple of weeks away from beginning 2026. And like I continue to say, it's hard to muster the holiday spirit. I put up a tree, I try to bake cookies, and and block out the noise, but it's like living inside of this crumbling American empire at the hands of the cruelest and stupidest people is so destabilizing, right? So if you're like me and you're like, Merry fucking Christmas, happy fucking holidays, right? Just like hanging on by your fingernails, just know that you are not alone. But as always, damnation, we will get through this together. Buckle up because it's been a day. Welcome to the Danielle Moodie Show. Let's get into it. So we begin today on the Danielle Moodie Show. I'm so happy that you are all here on Capitol Hill, where Kristi Noem faced heated questioning by Democrats on the Hill today with regard to, well, her leadership at the Department of Homeland Security and the fuck shit that ICE has been up to under her command. And this is according to the New York Times. Noem faces questions from House panel amid immigration crackdown. And I really wish that the New York Times and other outlets would stop referring to what Donald Trump's regime is doing as an immigration crackdown, because it provides it with a level of legitimacy that it should not have. It is not an immigration crackdown. It is a racist assault on people of color inside of these United States. That's what it is. And it's like, this is how you understand. Remember when Shakespeare said a rose by any other name would still smell as sweet? Well, they try and use these euphemisms and cover up the smell of shit, the stench that is coming from this regime, to have us believe that there is some legitimacy to the policies that they are putting out, other than upholding and expanding their white nationalist project. And I tell you that there is not. I digress. So let's go on. Kristi Noem, the Homeland Security Secretary, or as I like to refer to her as Ice Barbie, drew sharp questions from Democratic lawmakers on Thursday about the Trump administration's aggressive immigration enforcement tactics, with some members calling on her to resign. The hearing, held by the House Homeland Security Committee, typically takes place annually and focuses on worldwide threats to the United States. But most of the focus on Thursday was on the Trump administration's escalating immigration efforts and instances in which immigrants with no criminal records and U.S. citizens have been caught up in enforcement actions. Representative Benny Thompson, shout out to Mr. Thompson because he had a fucking day, boy. The highest ranking Democrat on the panel opened the hearing by urging Ms. Noem to resign from her post. He later pressed Ms. Noem on who gave asylum to the Afghan national charged with shooting 2 National Guard members in Washington. Your DHS approved the asylum application Mr. Thompson told her, Ms. Noem repeatedly said that the vetting of the suspect occurred during the Biden administration because she is, well, full of shit. And so I want to play this clip of Mr. Thompson going at Kristi Noem on Capitol Hill.
NCTC reference the unfortunate accident that occurred with the National Guardsman being killed.
You think that was an unfortunate accident?
I mean,
it was a terrorist
attack. Wait. Look, I'll get it straight. Then you can
He shot our National Guardsman in the head.
Look, Mr. Chairman, will you direct the witness to allow me to ask my question? It was an unfortunate situation, but you blamed it solely on Joe Biden. I want you to know who approved the asylum application for this same person.
Mr. Thompson, this individual that came into the country.
No, I want to know who approved.
Congressman Thompson, I want you to understand. When this individual came into the country, he came under evacuation of Afghanistan under Operation Allies Welcome, was thoroughly vetted by the Biden administration at that point in time, allowed into our country, and then was never followed up. I want to remind everybody in Congress.
Reclaim my time.
We follow the law. And every asylum is supposed to have a check-in every single year, and the Biden administration failed to do that. They vetted this individual, allowed them into our country, and did not do due diligence.
Witness will allow the gentleman to ask his question.
Yes or no? Who approved the asylum claim?
The application on the asylum was thoroughly filled out by information that was gathered by the Biden administration.
Bullshit.
So the Biden administration approved the asylum.
The asylum application was put into place under the rules established by the Biden administration.
Reclaiming my time. I don't want to file perjury charges against you, but I'm of the opinion that the Trump administration, DHS, your DHS, approved the asylum application.
The asylum application moved forward under all of the information and vetting processes that were put in place under the Biden administration, which is when vetting happened. And that's.
Let me tell you something. When I watch these committee hearings, it is a stark reminder as to why I never chose to run for office. Because I refuse to sit there and politely, right, ask questions and be fucking lied to. Because all she knows how to do is lie. All she knows how to do is recite the talking points that were drilled into her empty fucking head by whoever is in charge of doing her communications. That's it. Because the fact of the matter is who approved, right, the asylum for the man that murdered a National Guardsman? It was the Trump administration. And all they love to do, I mean, it has been 11 goddamn months of this administration. Get off of Joe Biden's dick, right? Like you wrote it all the way through the 2024 campaign. It doesn't work anymore. You all wanted power. You have power. Now, the reason why empty-headed motherfuckers like this shouldn't have any power is because they take accountability for not a goddamn thing. All she had to do, who approved, right? Who approved this person? Who gave them asylum? The Trump administration. But they refuse to admit any type of fault on their part ever. Their mission statement is to double down every single goddamn time. And I'm telling you, it is running out of steam and the American people are running out of patience. This exchange with Kristi Noem by Representative Delia Ramirez was fan-fucking-tastic.
I want to be very clear. You have misused resources appropriated by Congress. You've engaged in unethical behavior. You have repeatedly made false and misleading statements to Congress and to the press, and you've undermined the separation of powers and disregarded the role of Congress and the courts. Bottom line, you lie with impunity, you reject checks and balances, and you ignore Congress and the courts. Your options are limited. Either you're going to resign, Trump's going to fire you, or you will be impeached. I've already called for your resignation. You may remember I hand-delivered my request to you back in May, and I urge you to reconsider resignation because I've taken the first step towards your impeachment, and I've called on the Judiciary Committee to open an investigation into your lawlessness. Mr. Chairman, I know that at the end we'll be entering a number of articles into consent, but since I have a few moments, I ask unanimous consent to enter into the record a letter calling the Judiciary Committee to investigate Secretary Noem's impeachable offenses. Whatever you choose, the American people will have justice, Secretary, and you will be held accountable. I'm going to make sure of that every single day. With that, Mr. Chair, I yield back.
Oh, it was good. Because here's the thing. And I said this earlier today. I encourage all of you to check out a fire pit episode that I put up with my former co-host Andy Levy of The New Abnormal today on Substack. And I said this: I don't know if I'm going to be 80 or 90 years old by the time there is any form of accountability with this regime. I'm not holding my breath. And what I said earlier today is that the last surviving victim of the Tulsa massacre died at 103 without any reparations from this country for destroying her community, forcing her family on the run, killing hundreds of Black people. She died at 103 with not so much as a penny from the U.S. government for their hand in the Tulsa massacre. So I want us all to, free ourselves from this idea that somehow at some point, much like the AI video that Gavin Newsom put out today, that we are ever going to see Donald Trump and this inner circle, this bandit of buffoons in handcuffs. It is unlikely, but that does not mean that we don't keep the fucking receipts. That does not mean that we don't continue to hold their feet to the fire. Because at some point, as Andy said today on the Fire Pit, episode is up now on Substack, as he said today, at some point, this regime will end. And there are some that will not have the money to face up to what is going to meet them. That's what I say. But bravo to Representative Delia Ramirez, because she did the damn thing. And do you know who else did? Representative Magaziner. I think that's how you say his name. Who, my goodness, oh, this was good, y'all. This was good. Watch his exchange with Kristi Noem.
How many United States military veterans have you deported?
Sir, we have not deported U.S. citizens or military veterans.
I don't believe you served in the military. I haven't either, but I think you and I can agree that as Americans, we owe everything to those who have served our country in uniform, particularly those who have served in combat. Do you agree with that?
Sir, I believe that people that are in this United States that are citizens have legal status here.
Madam Secretary, we are joined on Zoom by a gentleman named Se-Jun Park. He is a United States Army combat veteran who was shot twice while serving our country in Panama in 1989. Like many veterans, he struggled with PTSD and substance abuse after his service. He was arrested in the 1990s for some minor drug offenses, nothing serious. He never hurt anyone besides himself, and he's been clean and sober for 14 years. He is a combat veteran, a Purple Heart recipient. He has sacrificed more for this country than most people ever have. Earlier this year, you deported him to Korea, a country he hasn't lived in since he was 7 years old. Will you join me in thanking Mr. Park for his service to our country?
Sir, I'm grateful for every single person that has served our country and follows
And
our laws.
can you please
and
tell
knows
Mr.
that our
Park
laws
why
are
you
important
deported
and
him?
every one of them needs to be enforced.
But you understand that many veterans struggle with PTSD, many veterans struggle with substance abuse challenges. This
She perjured herself before Congress. You see, he asked her very clearly, have you ever deported a U.S. citizen and a veteran during any of these ICE raids? Pierre. She said, no. She didn't say, I'm not sure. She didn't say, let me check. She said unequivocally, no, knowing absolutely that she has indeed deported U.S. citizens. The fact that Magaziner had that man on Zoom so she could see, oh, no, we've done the work. We've done the research. It makes me sick. It makes me sick to believe that people like that lying, disgusting, disingenuous dog killer will actually never, ever see the inside of a jail cell. This woman who is literally stealing our tax dollars so that she could have not one, but two private jets, who spends most of her time in hair and makeup so that she could go and cosplay on Fox News. These people know, folks, they know that they are criminals. They know that they are thieves. It's why, like I said yesterday, Donald Trump is trying to pressure the international courts, the International Criminal Courts, ICC, to remove the Rome Statute that would allow for them to pursue charges against Donald Trump and members of his inner circle when they leave office. No other administration has asked, has demanded, has tried to coerce the ICC into changing their policies because they're afraid of being prosecuted post this regime. But we know that the Trump people, they just operate in a CYA policy. They do dirt and then they try and cover it up or give each other blanket pardons. We know that Donald Trump, again, I tell you, he ain't ever seen the inside of any prison. The Supreme Court made sure of that by giving him absolute and complete immunity. And what is he going to do on his way out of office? Give everybody around him a pocket pardon. That is if he leaves office. Because trust and believe, the movements that they are making signal or should signal to the rest of us that they have no thought about leaving office. Trump 2028 hats. Steve Bannon will find a way around the Constitution. Donald Trump is going to be on the ballot in 2028 and people need to get quote unquote used to it. Also on Capitol Hill, sitting next to Kristi Noem today, was Michael Glasheen. He is the FBI director over in the, hold one second, please, because I had to look him up, because all of these people are like, there's just so many of them and they're just so ridiculous. And they have like made up titles. But he is the FBI director of Terrorist Screening Center. right? Appointed by Donald Trump. So Michael Glasheen is sitting there, and Benny Thompson, once again, has questions for him about what it is that the FBI and this terrorist program that he is the director of, what are they focused on? Take a listen to this exchange.
Water domestic terrorist organization, Antifa. That's our primary concern right now.
All right, that's what President Trump
Antifa.
did. What does the FBI say?
We share the same view. When you look at the data right now, you look at the domestic terrorist threat that we're facing. Right now, what I see from my position is that's the most immediate violent threat that we're facing on the domestic side.
So where is Antifa headquartered?
What we're doing right now with the organization.
Where in the United States does Antifa exist? Yeah. If it's a terrorist organization and you've identified it as number one.
We are building out the infrastructure right now.
So what does that mean? We're trying to get the information. You say Antifa is a terrorist organization. Tell us as a committee, how did you come to that? Where do they exist? How many members do they have in the United States as of right now?
Well, that's very fluid. It's ongoing for us to understand that. The same, no different than Al-Qaeda and ISIS.
No, I don't want you. I'll ask one question, sir. I just want you to tell us. If you said Antifa is the number one domestic terrorist organization operating in the United States, I just need to know where they are, how many people. I don't want a name. I don't want anything like that. Just how many people have you identified with the FBI that Antifa is made of?
Well, the investigations are active.
So you wouldn't come to this committee and say something you can't prove, I know. I know you wouldn't do that. But you did.
Shout out to Representative Benny Thompson, the ranking member of the Homeland Security Committee. Because what I loved about this exchange is that Benny wasn't trying to he wasn't trying to be a dick. He wasn't, peppering him. He wasn't doing this, that, and the other thing. No. Here is Pierre. He was like, okay, so you say that Antifa is the number one domestic terrorist threat to the United States. Okay, so where are they headquartered? Crickets. How many members of Antifa have you found? Crickets. Is Antifa with us in the room right now? Nothing. Because all of this is a figment of the imagination of Donald Trump. And this is Pierre. I have to pick him up. My apologies. It doesn't make any sense. Do you understand? They just go there. They go to these places. They parrot whatever Donald Trump tells them to say. And so that man sits there and he is willing to look like a fucking idiot. You're going to sit there. Because here's the thing, folks, is that if he were to have said, well, they're headquartered in Louisiana, there are 65,000 members. Well, then guess what? We would ask for the data. We would ask for the paperwork, right? We would ask for, okay, so you say you're building out, because you heard what he said. Oh, we don't have the information because we're building out the infrastructure. You're building out the infrastructure for a pretend enemy that you have made up because your daddy, Donald Trump, told you to. We have had how many, folks, how many times have we seen elected officials be killed, shot, homes blown up over this last year. Every single time, Donald Trump and the Republican Party has tried to tell us what? Before we even had any information. Oh, that it was Antifa. And then when the information would come out, when we would learn the truth, guess what would happen? Oh, we would never hear about those names again. We'd never hear about Vance Butler. We'd never hear about the person who shot and killed Charlie Kirk. Why? Because their affiliation wasn't with Antifa. Their affiliation was with MAGA. So what is the number one domestic terror threat in this country? It is MAGA. It is a white nationalist movement that is now cosplaying as ICE. So you make it make sense. They sit there, folks, and they fucking lie, and they lie with impunity because they know. They know that right now, no one can check them. Right now, all we can do is drag them in front of all we can do is get them on the record. Get them on the record for having lied to the American people. We're building the infrastructure. Yeah, I'm also building a fucking castle on a cloud. It is obscene and it's insulting the way that these people carry on. And my God, at some point in time, their brains need to be studied as to how you can sit there and just lie without blinking, without flinching, just sit there and fucking lie. Because I got to tell you, I wouldn't be able to do it. I wouldn't be able to be bobblehead Barbie and stand up in front of a room full of reporters that have facts, that have phones, that have tablets in front of them, that have producers texting them, and just sit there and be like, oh no, the economy's great. Well, we see data here that says otherwise. Oh no, I don't know what data you're looking at. I mean, it's got to be a sickness, right? It's got to be in somebody's DSM-5 at this point. Ugh, it makes me sick. But once again, shout out to Representative Benny Thompson, because that's the way you do it. I'm asking you questions. This is your job, right? He's like, I know that you didn't come here unprepared, but clearly you did. Fucking clowns. Speaking of clowns, also, about 20 million Americans, which I am one of, are about to see their subsidies for healthcare go through the fucking roof. Because set to expire December 31st is Obamacare. And the Senate has just become deadlocked because the Republicans under John Thune have no plan. Obamacare has been a policy, has been law in this country for the last 15 years. And for 15 years, Republicans have been working on a plan. And here we come to the end of the road, and they don't give a fuck. The Senate on Thursday deadlocked on competing proposals to avert rising healthcare premiums, blocking Democratic and Republican alternatives in an outcome that made it all but certain that expanded tax subsidies for health coverage under the Affordable Care Act will expire at the end of the month. Republicans squelched a bid by Democrats who had demanded action on the issue during the 43-day government shutdown to extend the insurance subsidies for 3 years. Democrats turned back a Republican alternative that would replace the subsidies with an expansion of tax advantage health savings accounts and direct payments of up to $1,500 to people who buy the most basic health insurance plans. Neither proposal could muster the 60 votes necessary to overcome a filibuster and move ahead. a long expected result that teed up a brutal battle over healthcare that is likely to shape the fight for control of Congress next year. They go on. Both plans were thwarted on separate votes of 51 to 48. 4 Republicans, Hawley of Missouri, Collins of Maine, Murkowski, and Dan Sullivan, both of Alaska, joined Democrats in support of taking up the extension, while all Democrats and a single Republican, Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky, opposed the GOP alternative. Also on the table, here's an idea: extend the subsidies. This is what I keep saying. This is why Donald Trump is a fucking stupid dictator, right? Because even the people that he applauds and throws roses at their feet do the bare minimum for the people, right? So that you can't say he's all bad. They lift people out of poverty. They provide universal health care. They do a little bit so as not to, I don't know, tee up a revolution that will remove them from power. Donald Trump could have the opportunity to say, I'm the healthcare president. I've extended the Obamacare subsidies for the next 3 years. And guess what? He throws out a bone for Republicans to be able to run on in the midterms. But as of right now, this is why I do not believe that Donald Trump is interested in midterm elections, because he has something else up his sleeve. He has provided absolutely fucking nothing for Republicans to run on. What are they running on? You tell me. They're not running on healthcare. They're not running on the strength of the economy. They're not running on immigration. What the fuck are they running on? Those are all of the things, supposedly, that in 2024, Republicans said, Donald Trump can fix it, even when we were provided with 4 years of information that was contrary to that fact. Donald Trump will make the economy strong again, even though Biden had created an economy post-COVID that was the envy of the world. Donald Trump will take care of immigration, and now you don't know where your neighbors are, and your children's fucking preschool teacher is being dragged out in handcuffs in front of them. I don't understand the logic here, but then there is no logic to racism. There is no logic to white nationalism, because eventually it will eat its fucking self. But you want to talk about who should receive an Olympic gold for their ability to fucking lie? This woman right here. And I really had to say woman in my head, because you all know there are words that I'd like to call her, but I don't, because I have class. Take a listen.
It now seems all but certain that the Obamacare subsidies will expire at the end of the year. It means more than 20 million Americans are now bracing for their health care costs to soar. Is the president prepared to let this happen, or is he going to step in?
The president is prepared to take action on health care, and he wants Republicans on the Hill to do the same. As you have seen, Senate Republicans put forth their own legislation earlier this week. As for the subsidies that are set to expire, I would like to remind you and everybody at home why this is on the brink of happening. Democrats wrote Obamacare. They passed it without a single Republican vote, and then they ballooned it with these expensive COVID subsidies that completely distorted the health insurance market. And then they doubled down.
I can't listen to her because she nauseates me. You want to talk about ballooning costs? You have literally ballooned our deficit in order to provide permanent fucking tax cuts to the ultra wealthy. And how are you paying for that? By gutting Medicaid and Medicare. That's how. By gutting food stamps. That's how. By shuttering USAID and being responsible for the deaths of 600,000 children. That's how. They're villains. They don't even want you to have crumbs. They don't even want the let them eat cake crowd. They want you to have nothing. What is so sick to me is how they get off on the suffering of other people. That's why I'm saying at some point, these people need to be studied because they are sick. They are twisted. And I want to know what is going on in their brains so that it's not replicated into the future. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you want to talk about isolating a fucking gene? What is the villain gene? What is the cruelty, dehumanist, like sadist gene that they all seem to have? Because I want to isolate that shit, study it, and then extinguish it. Is Obamacare perfect? No, it is not. But without it, I wouldn't have health care. Health care that I tell you on a regular basis that I pay $700 a month for. I can barely do that. And now I'm going to have to choose between keeping a roof over my head or health care? Like 20 million other Americans? Switching gears, because what else happened during this entire week of fuck shit? Donald Trump telling the Department of Defense to seize a Venezuelan oil tanker. U.S. lawmakers condemn seizure of Venezuelan oil tanker. Trump is sleepwalking us into a war. And now I hope that they use the term sleepwalking because the motherfucker can't seem to stay awake during a cabinet meeting. But Donald Trump is not sleepwalking us into a war. It is very clear. It was clear from when he sat down in the Oval Office with President Zelensky and he said, oh, so you're telling me that because you were at war with Russia, you've had to suspend elections. Huh, maybe we'll try that. Run the tape, folks, because he actually said that out loud in the Oval Office. Fast forward. This is where we are, according to The Guardian. Senior Democratic lawmakers and at least one Republican have condemned Wednesday's seizure of a Venezuelan oil tanker off the nation's coast, with one saying Donald Trump is sleepwalking us into a war with Venezuela. There is growing, at least somewhat bipartisan unease in Washington over the administration's escalating military posture in the region. Trump has accused Venezuela of facilitating drug trafficking and increased the U.S. military presence in the Caribbean to a level not seen in decades. The administration has also conducted a campaign of bombings of alleged drug boats, killing more than 80 people so far. Senator Chris Van Hollen of Maryland, who serves on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, said the tanker seizure indicated the administration was being dishonest about its military operations in the region. Quote, this shows that their whole cover story, that this is about interdicting drugs, is a big lie, which, folks, we've known this. We've known it was a lie. Because here's the thing that I said before I even go on here. Here's the thing that I said. I said this today with Andy Levy with my Fire Pit episode that is up right now on Substack. I said this very clearly. If there was, in fact, a desire to get to the root of drug trafficking that happens in the Caribbean Sea, would you not be seizing these supposed narco-terrorist boats, interrogating these supposed drug traffickers to figure out who the head honcho was, how the operation is run, how they get their information about when they're going to be on these supposed drug runs? You wouldn't just be blowing up boats and hoping for no survivors. And then when there were survivors, You wouldn't just be sending them back to their country of origin, would you, as opposed to bringing them to the United States for trial? Of course, that is if they weren't drug traffickers at all, and if you didn't want them talking and you wanted them silent. Because that's the kind of shit that, guess what, mob bosses do. But we all know this, right? We all know what the deal is. So for Chris Van Hollen to be like, oh, well, they're lying. I'm like, yeah, motherfucker, that's what they do. Rand Paul, a Republican senator of Kentucky, told News Nation that, quote, seizing someone's oil tanker is an initiation of war, and questioned whether it's the job of the American government to go looking for monsters around the world, looking for adversaries, and beginning wars. I mean, it didn't used to be, but under this fucking crime operation, it absolutely is. Because you see, again, connecting the dots, if we are at war and all of a sudden there actually is a real threat from Venezuela, from others that back Venezuela, then Donald Trump gets to do what? Suspend elections. And then all of our conversations about how his poll numbers are in negative 20, 30, 40, 50, in some instances below water doesn't matter. Then it makes sense as to why Donald Trump isn't bothering to give Republicans anything to actually run on, because he's banking on, one, the Supreme Court gutting the Voting Rights Act, two, the ability to go to war and pull his own wag the dog, or three, martial law. They are not anticipating that we are going to have free and fair elections come November 2026. So I don't know why the rest of us are putting our hopes and dreams on something that they are clearly planning around. As we close out today, dear friends, because like I said at the top, I don't know what is going to kill us first, to be honest, because that is what this regime is hell-bent on. They are offering nothing to the people of these United States except trauma, pain, suffering. So, to boot, here's the latest news over here, because we haven't talked about measles in a while, because we don't have a fucking CDC. South Carolina officials report accelerating measles outbreak. Thanksgiving travel and low vaccination rates have contributed to 27 new cases in state during the past week. South Carolina health officials have reported an accelerating measles outbreak in the state in the wake of Thanksgiving travel and a lack of vaccinations, with hundreds of people in quarantine. Hundreds. The outbreak, which appears centered on a single church and several schools in Spartanburg County in the state's northwest, according to an epidemiologist. There are words I can't pronounce. For the State Department of Health, totaled 111 cases. Of those, 105 were unvaccinated, while 3 were partially vaccinated. Linda Bell said in a news briefing, a further 254 people, so on top of the 111, an additional 254 people have been placed in quarantine as of Tuesday, with 16 held in isolation. Now, can anybody explain to me why this isn't major news? Why you are not seeing this story everywhere, right? Oh, well, on top of the fact that Donald Trump and his cronies are getting ready to buy CNN, on top of the fact that the white supremacist project is almost finished at CBS, right? So you're not going to be hearing anything anytime soon from mainstream corporate media because it has been MAGAfied, which is why you all are here supporting independent media. They go on. Accelerating is an accurate term, Bell said at the briefing. That is a spike in cases we are concerned about. She added that South Carolina has lower than hoped for vaccination coverage, meaning motherfuckers don't get vaccinated there. And once again, you did notice that I said that it's centered around a church, right? So I guess they're going to pray about it. In an earlier advisory, the state's health department reported 27 new cases of measles since Friday. 16 of the new cases resulted from exposure at way, not it being called Way of Truth Church. Come on, folks. It's just too on the nose these days. Way of Truth Church in Inman. 8 are household members of known cases, and 1 each attributed to school, healthcare facility, or unknown exposure. Thanks, RFK Jr. Thanks, Donald Trump. Because guess what? Vaccinations were at like 97% at elementary schools before COVID. And now they're at like 75% and going down, trending in entirely the wrong direction. And soon, for those of us that, believe in science and want to get vaccinated, you won't even be able to access those because they're going to ensure that they're not covered by insurance. And oh, by the way, that goes back to the fact that 20 million people are about to lose their health insurance. Do you see the absolute man-made catastrophe that this regime has created? It is extraordinary. And if we make it through this, somebody must study all aspects of it moving forward. But like we say, right? Learn history so that you don't repeat it. And here we are experiencing the rise of the Fourth Reich. So let me leave you with just a little bit of good news. A grand jury again has declined to re-indict Tish James. It was a striking rejection of the administration's retribution campaign. A grand jury now in Alexandria, Virginia, on Thursday rejected the Trump administration's effort to bring new charges against Tish James, the New York Attorney General. According to people familiar with the matter, exactly 1 week after another set of jurors did the same. The back-to-back failures by prosecutors to secure an indictment amounted to a striking rejection of the administration's retribution campaign. It highlighted the Justice Department's unusual strategy of pursuing second indictments despite earlier failures in court, and suggested the department would face major hurdles in bringing charges against Trump's foes. On top of which, right before I came on, Indiana legislature, Republicans have decided not to gerrymander their state. So without Indiana, which now Donald Trump is threatening to take away federal funds from and shut down projects on, all because they refuse to gerrymander the fuck out of that state like Texas has and all other states have under Donald Trump's whim. It is possible that if we have midterm elections, if it is free and fair, if all of those things align, it is possible that Republicans are in deep shit, which I myself love. All right, dear friends, I am back tomorrow at 12 p.m. Eastern for Democracy-ish with our friend and my co-pilot, Wajahat Ali. Right now, I have our midweek check-in that we do on Substack every single week. That is up right now on YouTube for all of you to watch, and we recorded that yesterday. And we will be back live tomorrow. So if you're looking for a double dose or a triple dose with my interview with Andy Levy, do check out all the content that I keep putting up for all of you. Friends, I hope that you find something joyful to do this weekend. I hope that you gather with friends, with family, with your pets. Pierre's been sitting on my lap snoring for the last 30 minutes. I wish you guys well. Before I get out of here, as always, I want to shout out the super stickers and super thanks. Lay, thank you so much for the $4.99. Ghostface Killer becomes a member for a month. I appreciate you, my friend. Thank you so much. Gato Mania $4.99. Again, appreciate you. Ghostface has also gifted a membership, a paid membership to the Danielle Moodie channel. I thank you so much. Susan, our wonderful moderator. Oh, you give Pierre $5. I appreciate you. And Jen for the $4.99. And Susan again for gifting a membership to this channel. $4.99 from Trash Panda. And Susan again, my goodness, making it rain today with a $10 donation. Folks, this is independent media. And every single dollar that you donate allows me to be able to provide you the kind of news with integrity and passion that you deserve. I appreciate each and every single one of you. As always, power to the people, and to all the people power. Get woke, stay sane, and in these extraordinarily dangerous times, dear friends, do stay safe. I will see you back here tomorrow, 12 p.m. Eastern, for Democracy-ish. Be well, dear friends. Be well.